Hello and welcome to LedgerCast. My name is Brian Krogsgaard here with Josh Solswich. How you doing, Josh?
Mr. Brian, we are here. It's a sunny afternoon, and things are looking good in the markets.
Things are looking good. I just keep going back and forth on my video switcher here. We've got this mean reversion trade. Like, I don't know if you call it officially on, but kind of on. Feels right, feels good. And it's coinciding with the legacy market really needing this trade. And so I love that kind of combo there. So I guess, spoiler alert, I think both of us are relatively bullish for mean reversion. The NASDAQ in particular was really bottomed out and has now had 4 straight strong days of bid. The S&P might be the one to look out for with the 200-day looming and some horizontal levels that make sense, but nevertheless, there's some willingness for people taking risk in legacy markets. Combine that with crypto having this, how long since we made that bottom? That was in January 20th, January 23rd, somewhere in there. Bitcoin established its low. And it's been ranging now then for February, March. So 2 solid months, about 60 days of consolidation. And it looks pretty good for a potential upturn. Is that the state of the market?
I do believe so, dear Watson. I mean, I'm going to say everything that I've said. Like, my analysis is boring, vanilla, bland. It's always the same. Essentially, like, people should know what I'm going to say before I say it, because it's not like I change my mind often on stuff. But we'll start with the chart pattern, okay? Right. So we had this series of chart patterns on BTC specifically. We had an attempted inverted head and shoulders fail spectacularly. I got stuffed out of my own trade there, as did lots of people. We had another like mega ultra deep wick happen, and then we had this diagonal support start to appear, which is when I was like, oh, maybe this is going to be an ascending triangle. I don't know. We're not exactly to the end of that yet. You want that to be 3/4 full. But all this whole time, my whole thesis is let this chop around, let this do its thing. I don't really care. I'm not looking to make a trade really until this is above 45. Ultimately, that's where I feel the most confident that this thing can go higher. So it makes sense to me so far that we're sort of cruising on this diag, right? On top of that, we also have this cloud setup, which we see semi-regularly.
On this very show, we talked about that notch. Was it a week or 2 weeks ago? It was as we were getting rejected off of the cloud the first time, I think. It's like, they just love to tuck into those little coves, don't they?
Yeah, they do. The G candle actually did the same thing. I can show that as well. But so these edge moves are just moves through the cloud. They're trend reversal trades. If you've never seen the cloud, this is just telling you green is support, red is resistance. So currently we're attempting to make our way through this dynamic support resist level. Really, so the cloud is telling you even more aggressive than the chart pattern. The chart pattern is saying, hey, wait till 45. Cloud is telling you 42 is good, 41.8. If we get a close in 41.8, then it's telling you the target is somewhere up here. Conservatively, that target could be 45, 42 to 45, chop around in 45, 45 to 50. I don't know, right? I don't know if it's going to get that bullish, but if I'm not paying attention to anything in the world and I'm just looking at the technicals, nothing has changed since, I don't know, February, really, right? Like,
yeah,
at least on BTC.
Other than
the other thing,
that consolidation always encourages us to get antsy, right? Like it makes you either want to flip your bias a lot, or if you're already bullish, maybe get overly bullish, and as it squeezes and it just makes, at least for me emotionally, it makes me more worn out the longer it goes.
Well, it's important to just know where the setups are, I guess, for you as a trader personally. If you want to take this trade, great, I don't care. But for me as a trader, this is the stuff I look at every day, right? Where is it relative to the cloud every day? Because like you're saying, getting antsy, it's just have a plan, stick to it, know where your stop losses are, know where they're going to be. The other thing, like let's say you longed 42, because technically that was a long setup based on the cloud. I didn't because this was ultra choppy. We were barting like 15K up and down. So I'm not about to get back into this. I want to get into this at the last possible second because I already got chopped up once at 40, this inverted head and shoulders at like 42 or whatever. So I'm not like ready to get back in just yet. But the cloud is telling you, yeah, this looks good. But anyway, your stop loss for all this stuff is always the Kijun, this red line. So the current stop loss is effectively the diagonal for this chart pattern, which makes sense. You don't want any lower lows, any daily closes, period anymore, which is one reason why, we got so bearish over here because we saw this low, so maybe we could be equally wrong here where we're super bullish essentially, right? But maybe it'll just like puke out the bottom or something. I don't know. But the ultimate safety zone is above the 200-day moving average, which also matches the 45K level currently. 200 EMA, the more important MA. Yeah. The most important.
According to half of this show.
According to the people who trade.
Wow. Zcash.
So yeah, I like the setup where there's an edge to edge. There's a chart pattern as there usually is together. And ETH looks even better today. It was coming off of this triangle.
Moving hard, yeah.
It's so funny. This morning I saw two people. The names don't really matter, but there were two tweets back to back. One was ETH looks super bullish. The other one was somebody drawing out this this like downtrending thing where they're like, ETH is ready to go to 1K again. That was their target, like way down here, which, that's a valuable target, right? If we broke down,
yeah,
but
we got full Goblin Town. I
don't think how this is setting up to right now, that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, ETH looks phenomenal. ETH BTC even as well. I had that up.
Held that goofy diagonal, depending if you want to look at that. I can pull
on ETH?
On ETH BTC. There's this. I don't have it perfectly drawn, I guess, but there it goes.
ETH is still turbo chop.
Yeah.
There's been like, we've talked about this before.
It had this potential to like really lose the levels that matter. And, in my mind, kind of want to go back to that 0.05, 0.055 territory. And it saved that on the past couple of weeklies. But yeah, failing that breakout justified the 10 weeks of down or whatever that was. So now it's good, good to see it finding itself on the trend line, and overall, yeah, it's just chop, but it's still a pair I like to track.
If you trade this and make money, I want to shake your hand because, man, not you, but just in general, anybody. EPTC is extremely tough, I think, to actually trade and do well. There was a ETH 2.0 merge or something on testnet this week. I don't know all the details exactly, but they're getting closer, to their final form.
Yeah, and I think the ETH 2.0 merge will have this kind of multi-halving.
Wait, you're bullish on it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I'm really bullish ETH. I'm actually long term. I'm really bullish Bitcoin as well, of course. I think that there's an avenue for ETH to do extraordinarily well, while Bitcoin does very well, and continue this ETH dominance run, which has now been going on since 2019. The Arthur Hayes had just another epic article. I don't know if you saw it, but about the risks to the dollar and euro based on SWIFT decisions and what that'll mean for other producing countries in terms of if they question this freezing that occurred of Russian funds and say, well, could it be me in the future? And how they would move to harder assets, whether it's commodities, wheat, oil, gold, whether it's Bitcoin. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. But either way, in that scenario, like I certainly see the 250K Bitcoin type of potential, the 5X. I just think if Bitcoin's at 250, Ethereum's got like 20K on its mind, and is going to be more deflationary, etc. So yeah, I see a potential for a 10x trade in a next Bitcoin or a Ethereum bull market, whereas it's harder for me to see a full 10x trade on Bitcoin. I can certainly see 6-figure Bitcoin, but that's not the strength of target that I think is possible for Ethereum. Think I'm right? Crazy? Dumb?
Basically, you're saying, can we 10x ETH before we 10x BTC, right?
Yeah, basically.
Sure, right? It's at a lower value. Why not, right? We can 10x Doge before we 10x BTC too, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen,
Yeah.
Again.
As a shout out, I spoke much more on my thoughts about macro-y stuff and crypto, and how you can have sometimes a short-term bullish lens, a mid-term cautious lens, and a long-term bullish lens all at one time. I was on Bankless with those folks. If you go listen to the Bankless podcast from a couple days ago, I talked more about that. But I think you can use the ETH BTC ratio at times, and when you're thinking in that regard, like, what do you hold your collateral in? Not necessarily to say I'm absolutely making this specific trade on high margin, like I'm making this pair trade. I don't care about that. It's more of how do I want to balance my collateral. Anyway.
Okay. I mean, yeah, right. ETH's got fundamentals. That's its whole existence. There's no denying that. Look at it, right? It's got a series of things going for it. ICOs, EIP 1559, the merge, proof of stake, ETH 2.0, lock fees or locking, staking, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Right. Like, let it go to infinity. Gas is coming down, or had been coming down. I don't know what it is as a relative basis today versus
cheaper than it used to be.
Well, yeah, it's cheaper. What's today? Friday, right? So Friday. Yeah, I mean, it's still high-ish. I'm just looking at this. Into the Block has a really good heat map that I pulled up. But somebody being Hill Dobby put together this Dune Analytics dashboard as well. One thing about fees that people need to communicate more clearly, I think, is the fees based on what you're doing, which is what this does beautifully, which is why I love it. It tells you, it's this much for a transfer, this much for an approval. People like to talk about fees like on ETH, like it's just one monolith thing, right? But it's not, it's easy and cheaper to send ETH from address to address. But to do like the complex, cool stuff, that's more expensive. And that's probably always going to be the case, but it's important to just realize that. So it's difficult to like lump it all into one basket and say it's $30 to send USDC or something, right? It's like, well, what are you actually doing?
Yeah.
I think people who transact in ETH know that, but it's easy to just throw shade on ETH for transaction fees when they don't explain what they're actually doing. That's why I like this dashboard anyway. But to see fees coming down was certainly more bearish than bullish.
Phil Moore in the chat asked if you could link that gas info or say the name of it. It's on Dune Analytics, but what do you search for?
Sure. I'll just link it in the chat.
Okay. Look, search for Hill Dobby if you're listening to this later. HILDOBBY.
Yeah, so gas was coming down, NFT traffic was coming down, NFT trades, volume, blah, blah, blah. And then today, like everything like flipped the switch, right? And all of a sudden, after this ape airdrop, which I don't even want to think about or look into. Okay. I just rather just stay out of it. Maybe you could go into that. But after this ape airdrop, everything's just like blah, just exploding all of a sudden. I don't really know what that's about, but we need fees to maintain a certain level. Fees need to be, there needs to be some baseline activity and some baseline fee level to like show bullishness, I guess, or that's how bullishness shows itself. Maybe I don't really know a great way to say that, but
I thought Ape was pumping. What happened to it?
I have no idea. I don't really want to talk about it. I just know like the correlation between like everybody deciding to list that and trade it and the rest of the market.
I don't know where it listed first. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong ape. Are there more than one ape? Okay, here's more history. FTX listed it quickly, so they have more history. Okay, it is up. It's just not, Binance just listed it, so it's down on a Binance relative basis. But yeah. Okay, yeah, it's done very well then. Because when it first launched, it was doing all kinds of crazy ranging, but it went from $8 to $16, so it doubled, and now it's back to 12. So it's finding itself. If you're not aware of what this is, the ApeCoin was airdropped to people within the Bored Ape Yacht Club ecosystem. Bored Ape Yacht Club, Mutant Ape Yacht Club, people that had whatever the dogs are, attached to some of the others. But the biggest airdrops went to actual direct holders of Bored Apes. It was worth, I don't know, something like $100K per ape. At least at some price. I don't know which price that was. $7, $8. So maybe $200K, depending if you sold the absolute top on it or claimed at the top, whatever. Obviously putting a ton of money into the hands of people who love NFTs. And it's, they got the whole tokenomics governance token thing that they're trying to pitch with it, whether or not they end up doing anything of value with with value accrual with the token, I don't know. We wrote a little blog post about it on flip.xyz if you want to check that out. It's whatever. It's an airdrop for NFT holders. It's not the first or the last of these that's going to happen. This is going to be very, very common.
Is it a security? Is the SEC going to go after this?
I
saw somebody borrowed an ape to claim the thing, and I was like, is this a security then? Like, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know, but I feel like it's going to raise somebody's flag somewhere, no?
Yeah. I personally would not want to be liable for that, right? Like, I wouldn't want to be on that team risking that. But they did. And they probably have some very good lawyers. They have billions of dollars. They bought Larva Labs. So it'll be something. It'll be a test. If I were the SEC, I don't know if I'd want to go after Bored Ape Yacht Club. It's kind of the XRP equivalent, right? Like, they've got billions of dollars to fight with. I'd go after something more blatant to try to set that precedent. But
I have no other comments other than it's interesting.
It is interesting.
VIX came way down too, as a complete 180 to NFTs. The VIX had been just creeping up higher. 36, I think it hit somewhere around there. And it's all the way back down to 24. We survived a rate hike, the first in 3 years. We got quad witching next week, which is just a bunch of contract expirations on futures and options. So there's going to be a bunch of rolling over, a bunch of just intraday volatility, probably intra-week volatility. More of the same for BTC, certainly. So, we just survived that. We get to the quarterly rollover and we go into the Q2 promised land, hopefully. And that's it, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of been the roadmap, I guess, this whole time, arguably.
We've been talking about wanting to be on the lookout for dollar weakness. This is the first dollar down week in a month. Not to say that means it's going to be the start of a new downtrend, but that's definitely attached, I think, to the strength that we're seeing in crypto and other markets. The S&P 500, as we talked about, is having a huge positive mean reversion. I mean, that's a big weekly candle. Holy cow. I've not paid much attention to that. Same with the Qs. All of that indicative of the fact that we're still just correlating really strongly with legacy markets. Some of the stocks that were most beat up in are benefiting massively. If you take this out of log, it's great, fascinating. I've been trying to catch these. I ended up finally not with I had options and I bailed on them because I didn't want to lose my seat, but I've got a decent amount of like shop and ARC exposure, basically trying to find stuff that had the most opportunity for mean reversion. So finally getting paid a little bit for those. PayPal, these had such big dumps. We've talked about these, that any mean reversion has this opportunity for like plus 30 to 50% gains in stocks. Like that's pretty awesome in the period of weeks. Coinciding with the indexes themselves doing really well. And then, now you blend that with crypto following on. Honestly, the crypto held up better. And so far, crypto's move up is not that impressive relative to some of those stocks. That said, I think if stocks stabilize overall, crypto can certainly keep going and get going even faster. If we get outside of ETH and BTC, was talking to you, disclosure, I'm long Solana right now, I guess, if anybody needs that disclosure, because,
they do.
People like to complain. I've been trying to catch this Solana bottom, trying to look for some kind of confirmation. I took a loss from 87 to 81 or something like that. Got back in over the past couple of days and am long again from around 85 because I was looking at this potential kind of flip of the failed resistance and looking for this mean reversion trade back to 100, 125, 150. I know that sounds ridiculous, but those are kind of my 3 levels on Solana, depending on how frothy the market can get and in mean reversion. The one that I have the most confidence in is roughly this kind of $125 territory. Before then, I think it might have a significant retrace, but it could go all the way back to the 200-day moving average, get everybody really, really excited, new paradigm again. That would be a double off the bottom almost. So I would love that trade. And Solana's just one, right? That's the one I've been looking at, so that's why I'm talking about it. Atom not moving quite as fast, but it didn't lose as much, so, might be something to see there. The rest of the layer 1 trade, I cannot remember what's what right now.
It's foam, right?
Yeah. Luna also not moving as quickly because I think it lost less. So this is very reflexive, isn't it? The ones that had lost the most are the ones that are bouncing the hardest. AVAX is doing pretty well. I was, this sideways and down concept that I wrote could be getting flipped on its head. They're also, it looks like they turned the bid on going into their conference. So I'm not sure if I would treat this as totally organic,
That would never happen.
Nobody would ever do that. But there's an Avalanche conference in Barcelona this week. Maybe that will include nice price action for folks in that landscape. What other layer ones am I missing, Josh? Tezos.
What's the O? What's the O in foam? Oxy?
Foam?
Is that what that is?
No, I don't know that one. Oxygen?
FOAM, sorry. Isn't that the layer 1 thing?
Oxygen? Oxy?
I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know that one. It's
some Saka.
This can't be. This cannot be.
1? People are saying 1. Sorry, dude, guys, I don't trade this graph. Come on, give me a break.
Well, whatever. Oxy.
We're getting.
Yeah, I don't care about those. If I can't remember the name, I don't care. If they're not,
we're getting excoriated in the chat, raked over the coals in the chat right now.
That's fine. One other segment of the market that is in recovery mode is kind of your DeFi stuff, which is interesting.
Yeah, pull up the DeFi. I guess I can pull up the DeFi. Someone was asking me about legacy stuff for compliance reasons. I can't really talk too much about legacy or anything really, so I can't really say anything, guys. Sorry.
I got the DeFi perp up. It's looking pretty good. I think maybe the better thing to look at it is what's DeFi perp relative to Ethereum doing, which has gotten absolutely bodied.
Just waxed. Look at that. Look at that Adam and Eve everywhere.
Yeah.
I can't not see it. Like boom. Like it shouldn't be.
Now we're just.
You're trading chart patterns when you're looking at this stuff. If you have to force it, it's crap. Okay, so it should just automatically be second nature.
So it's funny. We've drawn this trade so many times in different ways. This is what I think I would evolve this to, right? Like if you can clear the prior level, then if you can recover the prior level rather, then play it to the next level. So this potential trade would be clear that previous high, and it gives you the opportunity to go to the high from before. So that's how I would play this. That's about a 25% relative to ETH gain. Fairly modest. Certainly no back to DeFi summer type of territory, but, increase your Ethereum by 25, 30%. That's a trade. It's a trade that you could take. And keep in mind, this is the DeFi perp, which is not, it's like everything in DeFi. So you're not taking specific bets. I want to take the trade after it actually completes the chart pattern. You crazy people want to trade the chart pattern, right? So you don't want to.
I'm not saying it's a bad trade.
You don't want to take it until it clears this level. That's my target.
Right. Right. I want to exactly.
You want to
that's where I want to think about trading it.
You want to make the trade that goes like this. I'm
going to make the trade that goes to infinity.
Yeah, but you wouldn't take the trade until it clears that line. Which is
3, whatever 3 is there.
Right.
Relative to ETH.
3 to 3.7 or whatever.
Right.
See, well, that's why markets exist. I take my profit where you take your entry, and then, but you would wait for confirmation of that entry, and then I'd take that trade too, right? But I'm willing to take the trade just because it clears the prior area. For now, though, to be honest, I'm completely happy just in majors, mostly Ethereum and Bitcoin. And I've got a margin trade on Solana. It's not even my underlying. It's not my collateral. But if I were going to look for specific DeFi trades, I would go look at the coins that I think have the most opportunity or I feel most comfortable holding. Like an Aave or something like that. I mean, Aave went down to $113 and it's up to $166. So Aave had a really incredible move this week. And it's had 4 or 5 days in a row of positive moves. So your move would probably equate to buying it over its 200-day moving average and like a proper trend flip. And I mean, that would be quite something if we got a move that strong. And
I would just rather trade. I know this might sound counterintuitive. I would just rather trade the DeFi perp USD pair than fool around with the ETH pair. Like I'm more confident in that bull market.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I'd rather trade the odd pairs in a bear market and trade the USD pairs in a bull market. I don't know.
Yeah, this comp
that doesn't really make sense, but
this comp trade is one that I would be interested in taking because it's like it's basically, can it flip this parabolic down move? So that's a nice trend reversal thing that I would be interested in, and I could be patient for that.
Did you see this thread from I think it was Split Capital is the guy's name on Twitter, talking about CMS, talking about DeFi lending rates versus inflation?
Yeah, it was basically the rates that you get are not good enough to even account for inflation, especially once you consider you have to have taxes on that income.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty brutal. So if you earn 8%, it's like, then you get 4 or 5 net. So you're not.
Well, my retort to that is, I agree, but where else do you get 8% rates right now? That's where else do you go?
Which is the challenge of the inflation itself.
Right. So yeah, it doesn't beat inflation maybe, but nothing else does, right? So
yeah. So Jeebus, well, the account formerly known as Jeebus, he got banned from his main account. He had responded on that, essentially saying like, you're gonna kill yourself if you're trying to beat inflation constantly if inflation's causing economic stress. And his point was that you're better off just trying to maintain any buying power with dollars. Like if dollars are down, or if stocks are down 60-70%, and like growth stocks and stuff, then if you're maintaining your dollar buying power, then you'll be fine. Like just don't get wrecked. Just try not to get turbo wrecked at least. Yes, Jeebus is back. It's Chubby Corn or something like that on Twitter. it doesn't really matter.
But yeah, I agree with that comp chart though. Anytime you have a clean trend and you break it, right? Like it's not that hard to see what's trying to happen there. LTC was another one. I'm not that I'm going to trade it or recommend anything regarding anything, but let me pull it up. Just this like diagonal obvious trend line that much like ETH we're trying to break, right?
Yeah, you are gonna have to pull it up.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to find a chart that I can actually use.
I found it. I still have the Charlie Lee goes up on up only timestamp. Right at the top. Oh, that's so bad.
But yeah, there's just, again, this isn't like, at least my TA isn't like rocket science here. You draw a line, if it goes above the line, cool, right? Then things change. So even LTC of all things, right, is trying.
I just never am going to trade LTC again.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm not going to look for that trade either.
I'll leave it to Trader Main. He has to have a very strong neck to support those bags. It's just not for me.
One other thing about ETH, it has a bullish TK cross today, the first one since December when it crossed bearish. It also has this edge to edge setup. Imagine if ETH goes to 35, you're going to have a heart attack if it does. That's where this could go. It could go to 35, right?
Wait, what's ETH?
ETH to 3,500.
Oh,
like that's just the technicals are telling me 3,500.
That's my target.
There you go.
I'm not going to have a heart attack. I'm going to have a happy attack.
Okay. Well, yeah. As choppy as this all looks.
You know what else is at 3,500, Josh? The elite 200-day moving average. That's exactly where it is. 35.20.
Well, there you go.
Will I be having a heart attack? No, it will be exactly what I expected to happen in the mean reversion trade.
Fair enough.
ETH 3,500, Solana 150, Bitcoin 48K. So in terms of which trade do I want, I'm fine having Bitcoin exposure, but the upside is in the others. If risk on is back, right? The market still would do better if Bitcoin kind of took over, but it just never wants to, like, nobody ever does that, right? They immediately jump into further risk on stuff. So
I don't know if nobody ever does that, but it's less common. Let's say that.
It's less common. People immediately start aping the whatever they think can go up the most in comparison. Depending
on your viewpoint, yes. If you're talking about retail, absolutely. Now look at Doge. Look at whatever else. I'm sure Doge is doing phenomenal today. I haven't looked at it, but
it's up 0.8%. That gives me hope.
Really? That's it?
That gives me extreme hope. Now imagine if this mean reverts back to its 200-day moving average. That would be a double. And I could totally picture that happening. Gosh, that would destroy bears.
I don't know. It's just a weird market right now.
If you're short Doge and it goes up 100% on you right now, how sad would you be?
I just feel like the bad news wise, like what else, how much worse can it get? Like World War III and nukes, right? Like that's it, for me, like that's bad news, right?
So did we price it in? Did we price in the worst?
I don't think you can price in World War III, but I'm saying like that's how bad it would have to get, I think, because things just deteriorated so quickly. Even like commodities were retracing. I don't know the wheat ticker, but wheat was like limit down 2 days in a row, and I think a lot of commodities. I guess we can look up like USCI maybe. It's a good commodity index.
Oil.
Yeah, it came down. Oil came down too. Yeah,
it did. But on the weekly, oil has gotten bought up on the dip pretty hard. Like the wick on the downside is just as big as the wick on the upside. If this was a 2-week chart, it would look just like one of those Star Wars meme candles, right? Except
Yeah, the mall.
Last week. But yeah,
it seems very derivative driven in that, there's lots of crazy volatility.
There's tons of drama in commodities derivatives. That London Mercantile Exchange is legit going to go out of business, man. They're canceling all these trades with the nickel stuff. But yeah, I mean, oil touched 132 and 94 in 2-week candles. Like that. Oil, like something that it's not, that's way higher volatility than Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Gold got as high as 2070 last week and as low as 1895 this week. So this is extreme volatility in legacy markets. I'm actually still really bullish on both. One of Arthur's predictions in his article was that there'd be violent volatility to the downside, followed by slow churns up, because the people who really want gold or commodity exposure, they need to wipe out that derivative long because they don't want it to move fast. So they want to slowly be able to get into that store of value where they don't care about it going up a ton. They just want it to maintain, their buying power, or maintain their wealth from their exports that they sell their dollars or whatever they get back into hard assets. So that's the bear case from a volatility or a upwards volatility perspective. I think Arthur expressed that pretty well. But I'm still bullish on him overall.
Yeah, I think things look decent. The war in Ukraine continues on.
It's crazy.
Unfortunately. Yeah, I mean,
and
I don't know.
I feel it kind of leaving our minds a bit, like it's not top of mind every day. It's just like, oh yeah, there's still war happening. And I hope that doesn't prevent the powers that be. Obviously, citizens can't just keep their focus on these things all the time. It's too depressing, to be quite honest. But hopefully the powers that be are working hard to resolve those situations. But, you're getting these, it's like the China trade war talks. Like you're constantly, okay, we're talking. Oh, we're far away. Things are looking good. Oh, we're farther away. And it's this headline roulette that it does affect markets and whatnot. But the consequences of that is all fiscal, or longer term trades. It's not literal blood in the streets. And that's what makes me sad about the talks and breakdown of talks is the longer all that continues on, the more there's, missiles dropping and people dying. And that's unacceptable as a society, a global society. I just don't understand why we can't get past this concept.
Well, we gave Ukraine 800 million more in stuff this week.
Yeah.
So hopefully that makes a difference. But I don't think anybody wants U.S. boots on the ground there.
No, I don't either. I would like to see the Russian government stomped into irrelevance and, figure out a way to free their people from this mindset. But it's awful. Like, I don't understand how it can be globally accepted or globally tolerated in any capacity. And I guess we're not tolerating it. We just also can't tolerate ourselves getting over there. So there's no good answers.
Yeah.
But I blame Putin, that's for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of Russia, did you see Vitalik on the cover of Time?
I did not. Is that real?
That's real. I'm pretty sure I saw it. Yeah. Let me find it. I think chat can back me up here, but I gotta find the tweet wherever it was. Is that a top signal for you? I don't know if it's real. It was.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I'm getting advertisements with sound. The chat heard that.
Here it is. The Prince of Crypto has concerns. Is the headline? Is the title? Yeah. I'm just glad, Vitalik is Vitalik, whatever, but I'm just glad Satoshi's gone, hopefully forever, so that he can't get involved, he or she or whoever.
Online purchase go wrong?
Dude, okay, I had to close it out. Like, this is why screw you, time. They're gonna go out of business. I can't even read a single article. It's like pop-ups and video with sound, mute the sound, more video with sound. Man, I hate legacy media. Bring on Web3 media.
You think Web3 is going to be better?
No, but it's just different.
This was the tweet that I saw.
Nice.
Interesting. That's all I got for that. I don't know what else to say, right?
Yeah. The Prince of Crypto has concerns. What a pose. Like, who chose that? Stand here, be lanky.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Power stance. Yeah. Well, that's all I got. We got to have a quick show today. Sorry, everybody, but we appreciate y'all being here. We are hopeful. Is that our term? Do we have a better term?
I mean, I'm optimistic for price going into Q2. It's looking better than it was the other day. It could be equally as Barty at the end of the day. I don't know, right? Next week could be insane with Pod Witching or Nothing Burger. I don't know.
I choose to be optimistic. Mean reversion, please. Thank you. See y'all later.
Monuments crumble in the blink of an eye. The easy river has just run dry. In a house of cards, I feel the breeze wound so tight I can barely